All right, so I'm pretty feeling myself right now about being able to run here and not having too much pain, and it's a big deal to me, and I'm going to explain why a little bit. And somebody had asked on one of the other posts the other day, like, what happened to my foot and ankle? Was it wrestling or football? And it was actually a little bit of both. In my senior year of high school, I played running back in high school, and I was basically running a trap play. As I was going through the line of scrimmage, I went to plant and kind of follow my blockers and change directions. And as I planted with my left foot, one of the defensive linemen from the other team fell right on my heel and caused my foot to basically hyperflex and also hyperextend my big toe, which is typically what we call turf toe. And it can happen for many different reasons, but mine ended up being a much of a forced situation. And then my freshman year of college, I was wrestling with our heavyweight. Basically during my senior year, all I did was I literally taped the outside of my shoe and wrapped, around the front of my foot with tape and just kept playing through it. And then in wrestling season, my senior year, it actually kind of got better and it wasn't really bothering me. It was there, but it wasn't the issue, that it ended up being in my freshman year in wrestling. So I made it through my freshman year of college, football season with really no problems with it. And during my freshman year of college wrestling, I had decided to start wearing a pair of Adidas Combat Speed wrestling shoes, and they were the cool shoe at the time, and a lot of the better wrestlers had them. People were still heavily Asics based, but these Adidas Combat Speeds were just sweet. They looked good, and they weren't as practical, functional as what I know today. But when you're in high school, you don't always make those decisions the best. And coming from a family that doesn't have a wrestling background, I didn't really have many people to make these decisions with. And I don't really think people thought about this stuff too much, like the type of shoes that you had were going to make that big of a difference. You got a pair of shoes and a headgear and maybe some knee pads and your singlet. You don't need much else, and the main thing you're looking at is, do you have the mental fortitude to get after it and hang in that sport, even make it through a practice. But in college, I ended up having these shoes on while I was riding legs on one of our heavyweights. And when you ride legs, you throw one leg in around, and you're basically, you have your one foot in between their legs, trying to basically hook on and hold on and sort of spread their legs apart. And then with the other foot, you put it and plant it on the mat and basically try to drive them forward to get them off of their base and flat on their belly. And as I went to basically push forward with my left foot, I had my right foot wrapped around, and my left foot was pushing, on the ground underneath of our heavyweight's stomach, basically. And when I got him off of his hands, he kind of collapsed really fast, and I wasn't really ready for it. I don't know if it would have mattered had I been, but basically he fell with all of his weight, again, basically the same exact thing, right on my heel as I had my foot planted, and my toes bent the whole way back. And basically I've never been the same since. We would tape it and ice it. At that time I didn't really have the belief that going to the trainer and physical therapy was really going to help me. I wish that I would have. I wish I would have had different experiences in my life that would have led me to trusting in that process. But I always kind of believed, like, well, if you're in the training room, you're kind of a bitch, and that was the mentality that we had back then. Get out of the training room, get back into practice, and suck it up. And and wrestling's one of those sports where you can do a lot of workarounds. It's funny, Rhonda always talks about workarounds and trying to figure out ways to get around it, not have to necessarily address the cause of the problem. So for a little while, that's what I did, and then I was recommended to get orthotics, and I saw, foot and ankle surgeons and podiatrists, and they basically said, if I was ever going to get that surgery again, that I basically would never be able to, wrestle again. Likelihood, because of all the pushing off that's required, I would never be able to do it again. So I ended up deciding to forego the surgery. I became a master at taping my own foot. When you go away, you're wrestling for a Division II school, when you go away to these tournaments and everything, you don't always have a trainer that's with you, and you just have to figure it out. And it sort of worked, but by the time I was in my junior year, which would have been my fourth year, because I ended up redshirting, so my actual competitive fourth year, junior year, I basically was barely able to use my left leg, which I always think is funny because most people don't know this except for my teammates. I was practically training and wrestling on one leg, my entire college career, which it's like who knows if I would have taken care of the injury correctly, if I would have never had the injury, then what would have happened. But through my junior year and my senior year, I ended up having 9 cortisone injections in my foot over about an 18-month time period. And obviously that's not recommended today, and it wasn't really recommended back then. I went to 2 different doctors to get it done, but that was what it was about. It was about getting it done, and I had an obligation to compete, and I guess I just wasn't smart enough to do it the healthy and correct way, which I wasn't the healthiest and smartest person back then. I was kind of a brute and barbaric in the way that I thought about things and the way that I thought about training. I thought that's the way that you had to get it done. And physical therapy really saved me and changed my life. It got me off pain medications, and just taught me to have faith in a process that is hard to have faith in, because just like training, it takes time for you to see the results. And it wasn't really until I got into the sports lab and Marinovich stuff and doing the barefoot training that I was able to gain the power back in my foot that allowed me to become more functional. And it's actually amazing where I'm at today. And the last couple of years I've been trying to take it easy and get all my faculties where I needed them to be, because I was doing so much speed and agility training before I left Pittsburgh. I didn't really have the time to work on myself. So when I got out here, I've been really trying to work on myself and been patient. It's been hard, the first year or so, looking out on this beautiful beach path and not really feeling like I had the ability to go take a run without coming back in pain. And so to be able to be out here running right now, kind of dream come true. Actually, the complex that I live in, I used to run past here when I was doing my internship in 2005, and it's so cool to be able to hop out of the door here and hop down to the beach trail and take a run. So I'll probably have more to say about this. Obviously, it's been a long personal story, and a lot of people that are close to me have to hear about it a lot, because something's always nagging me, because this foot's kind of deformed and never going to be the same again. But it doesn't really stop me, and I don't think it ever will, because I my biggest goal, my life mission for myself, is to try to be the best version of me, and try to be with that, it means that I have to be in the best health and physical condition possible to make that happen, for myself, for the business, for my family. So I'm committed to that, and we're going to keep it going. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.